Jayo Sita Ram, Jayo Lakshman Hanuman. Sita Ram, Jayo Lakshman Hanuman. Sita Ram, Lakshman Hanuman. Sita Ram, Jayo Lakshman Hanuman. Jayo Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam. Radhe Shyam, Jayo Radhe Shyam. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Nitya Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitya Gaura Haribo. हरिनाम संकीर्तन की शिल प्रभुपाद की ओम नमो वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय हरे कृष्ण ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतः पदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणा रघुनाथामृतं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकाकान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामो राम रामो हरे हरे Hare Krishna. Happy and grateful to be amidst all of you all here today. Today on this very auspicious morning, we're going to discuss the story of the marriage of Sita and Ram. It's called as Sita Kalyanam. Interestingly, the story of the marriage of Sita and Ram is it's actually all about Sita. In fact, the entire Ramayana is considered to be all about Sita. There are some acharyas who give explanation that the name Ramayana is actually wrongly put. It should have ideally been Sita Ayan, because the whole book is about Mother Sita. The Balakand of the Ramayana is the story of the marriage of Sita. The Balakand ends with the marriage of Sita actually. The Ayodhya Kanda of the Ramayana is about Sita going on exile along with Ram. The Aranya Kanda of the Ramayana is about Sita getting kidnapped by Ravan. The Kishkinda Kanda of the Ramayana is search for Sita. The Sundar Kanda of the Ramayana is Hanuman meeting Sita. And the Yuddha Kanda of the Ramayana is about Sita reuniting with Ram. So essentially, the whole Ramayana is about Sita only, because Sita is not there. There's no story of Ramayana actually. So the many of the acharyas say that the word Ramayan should have ideally been Rama-ayan. Rama is another name of Mother Sita. So, but because Valmiki is a man, he kind of named it as Ramayan. The gender problem. So the acharyas actually talk about the glory of Mother Sita in the whole of Ramayana. So Mother Sita is considered to be Bhumi Suta, born from the earth, and she's considered to be the most motherly and most kind personality in the universe. It is explained that if you study the entire Ramayana, you will not find a single episode where Ram kills a demon when Sita is present in front of him. Not one demon is killed in front of Mother Sita. Jayanta, who was Indra's son, who came as a crow, he tried to, peck Sita, hurt her, but Sita didn't allow Ram to kill him. Ram only removed his eye. Shurpanaka was another demon who came in front of Sita. Sita didn't allow him to kill Shurpanaka. Only she had a ENT surgery, basically. Her ears and nose were cut. So, if you look at the entire Ramayana, no demon is killed in front of Sita. Because even if someone is a demon, Sita is a mother. She looks at them as naughty children, basically. So therefore, whenever Ram wants to kill somebody, he sends Sita away. So that's why Ram didn't kill Marich, the golden deer, in front of Sita. He took the golden deer very far away and somewhere else he killed. There was another demon named Virada who attacked Ram. So, who attacked Sita actually originally. And Ram didn't kill Virada in front of Sita. Virada went very far away and then Ram killed him in the forest when he was away from Sita. So similarly, the Khardushan and the 14,000 soldiers that attacked Ram after Shurpanaka went away, Ram told Lakshman, take Sita into the cave. And when Sita was inside the cave, then he killed them. So this is the mood of Mother Sita. The entire Ramayana, the mood of Mother Sita is that of a divine mother. And in that mood, Sita reciprocates with all of us. So when we discuss the marriage of Sita and Ram, it is actually very auspicious. In fact, the marriage of Sita and Ram happens on a daily basis. Every single day, Sita and Ram are getting married somewhere. If you look at the ancient temples of India like Tirupati, the Sita Kalyanam happens on a daily basis there. Every day there is Sita Kalyanam happening. Why? What is the meaning of the word Kalyana? The word Kalyana, obviously in one sense it means marriage. But in another sense, the word Kalyana means auspicious. So whenever there is a marriage of Sita and Ram, it creates auspiciousness in that place. So if we are discussing the marriage of Sita and Ram now today, it is actually going to bring in so much auspiciousness into all our lives. So whenever we discuss the marriage of Sita and Ram, it brings in so much auspiciousness in our life. Unfortunately, today's marriages are not exactly auspicious, isn't it? People invite film stars and movie stars for marriages. What an inauspicious way of celebrating marriages, isn't it? Calling such people who are so degraded to, bless your marriage. What an unfortunate situation it is, isn't it? Marriages have to be celebrated in the most auspicious way. And the most auspicious way is by invoking the presence of the Lord, invoking the presence of His divine consort, invoking the presence of great saints. And that is the true understanding of marriages. So today, very quickly and very briefly, we'll describe the whole story of Sita Kalyanam, and that will bring in a lot of auspiciousness into all our lives. The story begins when Ram Lakshman were with Vishwamitra Muni in the forest. Vishwamitra had come to Ayodhya and sought the help of Ram for killing these demons Marich and Subha who were disturbing his yajna. So after a lot of discussion, somehow Dasharath agreed to send Ram with him. And wherever Ram goes, Lakshman goes. You buy one, get one offer. You know, it began there. You ask for Ram, you get Lakshman. You can't only have Ram, you know. So Lakshman went along with Lord Ram to the forest, and eventually Vishwamitra Yajna was a great success. They destroyed all the demons, and Vishwamitra was very happy and very grateful to Ram. Anytime any sage takes help from somebody else, he gives back much more in return. You know, in our understanding, when we ask someone for something, it's usually favors that we ask for, isn't it? But most of the times when we ask a favor from someone, how much can we give back? We hardly can give back much. But the sages are so amazing that when they take from someone, they give back much more in return. So, of course, the word Vishwamitra means Vishwamitra. He's a friend of the universe. And what Vishwamitra was doing, the yajna, was not for himself. It was for the welfare of the world. But yet, when Ram helped him with it, Vishwamitra felt, I should do something good for him. And keeping that in mind, Vishwamitra proposed to Ram and Lakshman to accompany him to Mithila, where there was a Dhanush Yajna going on. So there was a massive bow of Lord Shiva, which was worshipped in Mithila by Janak Maharaj. The name of that bow was, anybody knows? Name of the bow of Lord Shiva? The name of the bow of Lord Shiva was known as Pinaka. That is the name of the bow of Lord Shiva. And this bow was handed over from many generations by kings to finally Janak Maharaj. And that bow was being worshipped over there in the court of Janak. So once in a while, they used to have a bow sacrifice, a 12-day long bow sacrifice. And people from all over the world would come to visit, have darshan of that bow, and be a part of that sacrifice. So Vishwamitra wanted to be there. So he told Ram and Lakshman, can you please come? Would you like to come with me to Mithila? So if you study the geography of India, Ayodhya is in Uttar Pradesh, Mithila is in Nepal, and Siddhashram is somewhere in another direction. So technically, if it's not like on the way, it's completely out of the way, you know. But because Ram and Lakshman loved Vishwamitra Muni, and they loved the association with Vishwamitra Muni, and they were also excited about the potential of seeing Lord Shiva's bow, they agreed to go. So the three of them went all the way to Janakpur or Mithila, and they entered the city of Mithila. So when they entered the city of Mithila, it is explained, Kamba Muni in his Kamba Ramayana, he gives a very beautiful description of the entry of Ram, Lakshman and Vishwamitra Muni into Mithila. It is explained that on top of every building in Mithila, there were flags, beautiful flags. Today, on top of every house, there is dish antenna. The flags on top of the houses indicate that the center of the house is God. God is in the center of the house. You know? So if you go to any temple today in India, you'll find flags on top. So it's a indication, basically, what is the center of your house. So today people have dish antennas on top of their house, indicates the center of the house is television, isn't it? TV Maharaj. So when Ram Lakshman entered into Mithila, the flags began to wave. And Kamba explains that the flags seemed to be like hands, you know, waving like this. And they were welcoming Ram into Mithila. Come in, come in, come in, you know. So the city of Mithila became so happy that finally someone who is qualified has come. So the whole city, all the flags are moving in one direction, you know, welcoming Ram into the city. Why? Because that city has been holding a very precious jewel, Mother Sita. And the city has been waiting to give this jewel to someone who is qualified. And there are many people who felt qualified and came there, but the city never welcomed them like this. But the moment Mithila saw Ram walk in, Mithila felt that this is the right person for Sita. The whole city welcomed Ram. So Ram, Lakshman, and Vishwamitra Muni were moving around the city of Mithila, looking at all the beautiful sights and scenes there. It is explained the city of Mithila was much more beautiful than the city of Ayodhya also. The goddess of fortune herself present there, and the entire city of Mithila was decorated so beautifully. So Ram and Lakshmana were mesmerized by all the sights of and the buildings of Mithila. And finally, as they were walking around, they reached one particular section of Mithila, which was very opulently decorated. And there was a beautiful palace. And on top of that palace, in the balcony of that palace, was standing the most beautiful girl in the universe, Mother Sita. It is explained that Sita was so beautiful that they would be the demigods dying to see Mother Sita. And it's explained that whenever human beings saw Sita, they would always curse Lord Brahma because he gave them eyes that blinked. Imagine that. Because in that little blink, they would not be able to see Sita, right? So the humans were very, very angry at Lord Brahma. And the demigods, when they would see Mother Sita, the demigods had eyes that didn't blink, isn't it? That's one of the, if you find someone whose eyes don't blink, you should understand. It's a demigod there. Of course, there is also a disease because of which your eyes don't blink. So when the demigods would see Mother Sita, their eyes would not blink. But they would also curse Lord Brahma because he gave them only two eyes. So they wanted so many eyes to see Mother Sita. And Indra, who had 1,000 eyes, with all those eyes, if he would see Sita, he would still feel dissatisfied. That was the description of the beauty of Mother Sita. It is explained that the sun never saw Sita properly because the Sita would always be in a veil or should be in a palanquin or should be in the palace. And it's explained the earth never experienced the touch of Mother Sita because she would wear golden sandals, golden slippers made of pure gold. And it is explained that Sita was so delicate that if a leaf would fall on her body, wherever the leaf would fall, that part of her body would become red. She was so soft and delicate. So this was the Sita that was standing on that balcony that day. And Ram just happened to glance up and he saw Sita for the first time in this incarnation. The moment Ram saw Sita, he was stunned. He just froze there. And Sita also saw Ram for the first time in this life. And she just froze. Their eyes met. And by looking at each other, they just gave their hearts to each other. It is explained that whenever Ram was traveling with Vishwamitra Muni for so many months now. And throughout the journey with the Vishwamitra Muni, Ram would ask Vishwamitra Muni many questions. He would see a particular place, he would ask, what is this place? And he would want to know background stories about the place and all that. So Ram kept asking so many questions to Vishwamitra Muni. But when he saw Sita, he had no questions to ask. Sometimes you don't need to ask questions, isn't it? You get answers. Ram was so amazed at the beauty of Mother Sita. Till this time, Ram always felt that he never saw any other woman because he didn't feel that anybody matched him as such. So he didn't really bother to see anyone. But when he saw Sita for the first time in his life, he felt he had found his match. And when Sita saw Ram, she was so amazed looking at the beauty of Lord Ram, the broad shoulders of Lord Ram, and the powerful looking persona of Lord Ram. Suddenly, Vishwamitra Muni and Lakshman walked away. And Ram was just still stuck there, And then when Ram felt that Vishwamitra had walked away too far, then he broke that vision and he ran behind Vishwamitra Muni. So Vishwamitra Muni, Ram and Lakshman, they reached the center of Mithila. When they reached the center of Mithila, the king of Mithila, Janak Maharaj, and his guru, Satananda Rishi, they personally came to receive Vishwamitra Muni there. By that time, the news had spread that Vishwamitra had entered Mithila. So Janak Maharaj came all the way personally to receive Vishwamitra Muni. He offered his obeisances to Vishwamitra Muni and he welcomed Vishwamitra Muni to the Dhanur Yagya. And he asked Vishwamitra Muni to stay with them for 12 days to the completion of the whole Yagya. Vishwamitra agreed, and Satananda Rishi paid his respects to Vishwamitra Muni. And then eventually Janak Maharaj asked, who are these two boys who are with Vishwamitra Muni? So Vishwamitra Muni introduced Ram and Lakshman to Janak Maharaj, and he said, this is Ram, the son of Dasharath, and this is Lakshman. And as Vishwamitra Muni introduced Ram Lakshman to Janak Maharaj, Janak was thrilled. Why? Because Janak was a friend of Dasharath Maharaj, and Janak had attended the Putra Kameshti Yagya of Dasharath Maharaj, and he had seen that Prajapati coming out from the fire and giving that pot of nectar to Dasharath Maharaj, and he had seen Dasharath distributing nectar through his 3 wives, and he had heard that 4 sons were born, but Janak had never seen those sons. And here was Ram standing in front of him, and Janak was so happy that his very close friend's son was here. So, just to introduce Ram Lakshman to Janak and Satananda Rishi, Vishwamitra began to talk about the greatness of Ram. He said, Ram is a Parakrami. He has killed Tataka. Tataka was a massive demoness. So when Vishwamitra Muni said that Ram had killed Tataka, Janak was amazed. But Satananda Rishi, there was no reaction on his face at all. Absolute, so what? He's killed Tataka, So then Vishwamitra was thinking, why is he not reacting? Isn't that a big thing? Tataka was killed. So then he said, he has destroyed Marich, Subahu and all the demons together. Janak was like really amazed. Satananda Rishi, no reaction only. So then Vishwamitra Muni said something very different. He said, Ram has delivered Ahalya. So just before they entered Mithila, they went to this ashram of Gautam Rishi, where Ahalya was in the form of a stone. Gautam Rishi had cursed her. And the moment Ram put his foot on this little stone, the stone transformed back into a beautiful woman. And Ahalya actually took shelter of Lord Ram. From that day onwards, technically, Ahalya becomes a daughter of Lord Ram, because he gave birth to her. So Ahalya actually surrendered to Ram in that spirit, basically. And when Satananda Rishi heard that Ram has delivered Ahalya, he was amazed. He said, what? Ram has delivered Ahalya. He was like, so Vishwamitra Muni was thinking, what is this? He's killed, Tataka, no reaction. He's killed Maritsuva, oh, no reaction. And here delivered Ahalya, such a big reaction. The reason was because Ahalya was a mother of Satananda Rishi. He had seen his mother as a stone for so many years. And Satananda Rishi himself is such a powerful sage. But he can't do anything to his mother. He couldn't help her. Imagine your mother is like transformed into a stone, and you are a powerful sage, but you can't do anything about it. So far, Satananda Rishi has been going and having darshan of his mother on a regular basis, but just as a stone. But when he heard that Ram has delivered Ahalya, he was so touched, because now this is personal, right? And more than that, great sages, they are not impressed by acts of valor. They are not impressed by your heroism and all. They are more impressed by your sensitivity. They are more impressed by your kindness. So Satananda Rishi was very impressed that Ram delivered Ahalya. He was so grateful to him, actually. And then Ram, Lakshman and Vishwamitra Muni were invited by Janak Maharaj to the court. So eventually, in the courtroom of Janak Maharaj explained about the bow. He said that we are doing a Dhanur Yagya, a 12-day long Dhanur Yagya. And he explained that what is the greatness of this bow. He said, let me tell you all the story of this bow. He said, many, many years back, Vishwakarma, who was the architect of the gods, he created 2 bows. And both the bows were very powerful looking bows. Very huge bows. And when Vishwakarma created these two bows, he gave one bow to Lord Vishnu and he gave one bow to Lord Shiva. So the demigods, they heard about these bows being made by Vishwakarma and given to Vishnu and Shiva. So the demigods went to Lord Brahma and they said, if there's a fight between Vishnu and Shiva, whom you think will win? Brahma said, what's your problem? Let them be. Why are you inquisitive and curious about something that you're not bothered about? It's not your concern. So the demigod said, no, we really want to know who will win if there is a fight between Brahma and Vishnu and Shiva. So then Brahma said, see, I can create a fight between them, then you will know. So demigod said, yes, please create a fight between the two of them. Brahma said, see, this is going to be very dangerous. Are you sure? Demigod said, yes, we want to see the fight. And Brahma went and asked Vishnu and Lord Shiva to fight. And both of them began to fight. And the fight was so intense that at some point of time, it almost felt the universe is going to get destroyed. And Lord Vishnu let out a war scream. The demigods literally became deafened. And they ran to Brahmaji and said, please ask them to stop fighting. Brahmaji told them, I told you, not to interfere in such matters. So then Brahma went and asked Lord Vishnu and Shiva to stop fighting, and they immediately stopped. So then eventually Lord Shiva handed over that bow, which he used that bow in many wars, including the Tripurasura war, when Shiva fought against the Tripurasura demon. And eventually he handed over this bow to a king named Devavrata, who comes in the lunar dynasty. And then eventually Devavrata, he handed over the bow to his son. It came to his son. Like that, it came down all the way to Janak Maharaj, who came in that lineage. And all the kings in that lineage, they worshipped this bow. Janak Maharaj explained that all of us have been worshipping this bow diligently. Interestingly, none of them used the bow. They only worshipped the bow. Why? They couldn't even lift it. It took 5,000 men to lift that bow. It was so huge. And interestingly, a lot of people do this. They end up doing this only. So when you have something that you don't know how to use, what you end up doing? You end up worshipping it. A lot of people have Bhagavad Gita in their homes. What do they do with it? They worship it. But Bhagavad Gita is not meant to be just worshipped. The way you worship the Bhagavad Gita is by reading it, isn't it? So, just like, when we go to people's houses and they ask for Bhagavad Gita, they give a very freshly packed copy of Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita as it is. It's kept as it is. You just keep it as it is in people's houses. They take that word very seriously. Bhagavad Gita as it is. So, here, Janak Maharaj, he was not able to use the bow, so he just kept worshipping it. So, Vishwamitra Muni told Janak Maharaj, please show the bow to Ram and Lakshman. So then Janak Maharaj explained that this bow has been a cause of a lot of anxiety for me. He explained that I have kept a condition for my daughter's marriage. Anyone who picks up this bow can marry my daughter, Sita. And then he asked his people to go and get the bow. So 5,000 men got up and they went to the other, there was a huge building created for this bow actually. And this bow was kept on a huge cart. 500 bulls pulled the cart and 5,000 men were pushing the cart. It is explained when that bow moved, the cart moved from that place, that section of the earth where the bow was kept, it almost felt like a big backache, like a pain on the back was, relieved. So these thousands of men brought the bow inside the palace of Janak Maharaj. And as the bow was being brought in, all the Mithilavasis who were sitting there in the assembly, they started whispering, talking among themselves. They started saying, our king is a fool. Some people started saying, it seems that our king doesn't want his daughter to get married at all. Who would keep conditioned like this? Who can lift a bow like this? So there were whispers going on in Mithila. And Janak obviously knew these whispers. He was not a fool. And many people in the past have come and tried to pick up that bow. And every one of them failed miserably. In fact, wars have been fought over that bow. Because the kings that came there felt that this is absolutely not fair. There's nobody who can lift this bow, and Janak has kept such a condition. He's just wanting to insult us. And then they would attack Mithila after that. So like this, so many wars have been fought over this bow. So Janak, he was internally thinking, I'm not a fool to put such a condition for my daughter's marriage. Why will I do that? When Sita was a small girl, she was playing with her friends. And one day while she was playing, the ball with which they were playing went below the place where the bow was kept. Sita ran. She picked up the bow with her left hand and picked up the ball and then threw it back and ran away. There were guards standing there. They collapsed when they saw that. Now imagine, with the left hand, she just picked up the ball like that and just picked the ball. They were bewildered totally. They had never seen anything like this. So they went and told Janak Maharaj, your daughter seems to be something else, who can pick up the ball like that. That day, Janak made a decision that anyone who marries Sita at least should be able to lift that bow once. Imagine if a very thin guy gets married to Sita and she embraces him. What will happen to that fellow? She's so powerful. So Janak said, at least this fellow should be able to lift the bow once. Of course, Janak was not able to tell this to anybody else because he didn't want to scare anyone. He didn't want to tell anyone what happened. He kept it a secret totally, but he kept this as a condition. So everybody felt he's a fool, but he knew. There are many situations in our life where we're so helpless, we can't tell our problem to somebody else, isn't it? We go through some problem and people don't understand what we're going through. And they make their own speculations. They make their own conclusions about what we are going through, But in such situations of life, when you can't share what you're going through with somebody else, there is one solution, and that is prayer. Janak Maharaj every single day kept praying that the right person comes who gets qualified to marry Sita. And in this prayer, he kept hoping that he has made the right decision also. So eventually, Janak Maharaj, after explaining this whole story, he says that, he doesn't tell the story in publicly, so he was thinking about it himself. And then finally, he publicly says, if Ram can lift this bow, he can marry Sita. That word if indicates a lot of things. In Christianity, there is something known as doubting Thomas. Doubting Thomases are people who are always doubting, whether you can. So, when Janak is saying, if Ram can lift the bow, what does it mean? He is even doubting Ram. So, imagine how many times he has seen failures. When a person sees failures one after another, you start doubting even God. What if Ram fails? So, he puts that word if. So, then Ram, he gets up and he asks his guru, Vishwamitra Muni, can I go and see that bow? Vishwamitra Muni says, please go and see the bow. So Ram walks towards the bow. As Ram is walking towards the bow, all of Mithila, their eyes are on Ram only. And as they see Ram walk, they are so amazed just by the walk of Lord Ram. The walk of Lord Ram has so much confidence in it. I mean, when you and me walk, no confidence, it doesn't matter to anybody. But when Ram walks, there is so much. It is said that the Mithilavasis, when they saw Ram's walk, they could see that there are 5 different animals. And the walk of those animals exuded in Ram's walk. So there is something known as Vyagragati. Vyagragati means the rage of a tiger. So when a tiger walks, the anger with which he walks, that they could see in Ram. And they could see Simhagati. That means the majesty of a lion. Imagine a lion walk. It's such a regal walk, right? And then they could see Gajagati, the greatness of an elephant. Seen an elephant walk? There's a another level of confidence in an elephant's walk, right? And then They could see Rishabhagati, the bull. If you see the bull walk and the confidence with which the bull walks, it's another level of confidence. And then they could see Sarpagati, the latent speed at which the snake walks. So when all the Mithilavasis were looking at Ram walk, they could see all these animals walk together, With so much confidence. And every single one of them felt he's going to do it. They were fully confident that he's going to do it. And all the Mithilavasis, they decided, we are not going to blink. Because if we blink in that 1 second, something can happen and we'll lose the action, They all were holding their eyes like this to absolutely absorb everything that was happening. Lord Ram walked up to the bow and he reached the bow. He turned towards his Guru Vishwamitra Muni and he said, can I touch the bow? So at every step, Ram is asking permission from his Guru, Imagine. So Vishwamitra Muni said, yes, please. So Lord Ram first respectfully went around the bow 3 times. And then he bent down and put his hand on the bow, in the middle of the bow. And then he turned towards Vishwamitra Muni and he said, can I lift the bow? Vishwamitra Muni said, please lift the bow, And then all the Mithilavasis, their eyes were like riveted at Lord Ram. In one moment, just like an elephant would pick up a lotus flower, in one moment, Ram just picked up this huge bow and he placed it on the ground. And he lifted the string of the bow. It was an unstrung bow. And he tried to string the bow. And as Lord Ram tried to string the bow, right in the middle, the bow broke. The sound of the bow breaking was so terrifying. Practically everyone sitting there, they collapsed from their chairs. Except Vishwamitra Muni, Janak Maharaj, Satananda Rishi and Lakshman. Everyone else fell from their chairs. And the sound of the breaking of the bow reverberated through the whole universe. So loud it was. Of course, that bow represents many, many things. The axle, or rather the joint between the 2 sides of the bow, that the 2 sides of the bow represents birth and death. And breaking between represents destroying the cycle of birth and death. So Lord Ram, he is expert in breaking the bow in between, So when we take shelter of Lord Ram, we are also caught up in the cycle of birth and death. So he is expert in breaking things in between. Of course, there are many, many things that the bow represents. But eventually, when the bow was broken, Janak Maharaj jumped up and he said, bring Sita. He was so happy and excited. Finally, somebody lifted that bow, And then all the friends of Sita ran to Sita. And when they ran to Sita, Sita was immersed in thoughts of Lord Ram. The previous day that she had seen Ram, she was so absorbed in the thoughts of Ram that she didn't even hear the bow being broken. Imagine the whole universe heard it, but Sita didn't hear it. She was so absorbed in Lord Ram. For someone who is absorbed very deeply inside, in Lord Ram, in God, the external changes don't matter to such a person. So for us, when things change on an external level, we get so disturbed, isn't it? When anything goes wrong, we just get so disturbed. And that disturbance simply because we don't have absorption on an inner level. But for somebody who was absorbed on an inner level, externally no big change shakes them up. So all the friends of Sita came and said, the bow is broken, you have to get married now. And Sita didn't know whom she's going to get married to. Imagine, she didn't know who picked up that bow and who broke the bow, And she was in anxiety that what if it is not that person? So somewhere in the corner of her heart, she felt maybe it is that person. But she didn't know. So, her friends dressed her up and brought her down. So she came down with a garland in her hand. And as she came down with the garland in her hand, she saw the lotus feet of Lord Ram. She had a veil covering her face. She only saw the lotus feet of Lord Ram. The moment she saw the lotus feet of Ram, she was convinced the same person. And in the meanwhile, Ram also was in anxiety. Who is this person, who's coming down? And the moment he saw Sita, he was convinced it is the same person. But Ram suddenly realized that I don't have the permission of Dasharath Maharaj, my father. You know. So he suddenly made a declaration. He said, I have not come here to get married. Came here only to see the bow. I didn't know what this marriage is about. So he said, I can't get married unless my father Dasharath permits. Janak Maharaj literally collapsed over there only. After so much difficulty, one person got qualified to marry Sita, and that person is saying, I can't marry. Now the bow also is broken. So Janak Maharaj was in great anxiety. He ran to Vishwamitra Muni, and it is explained that Janak ran to Vishwamitra Muni just like a sick child runs to his mother. So when a child is sick, they're so helpless, isn't it? And when a child is so sick, they don't know what to do. They helplessly run to their mother. So like that, Janak Maharaj ran to Vishwamitra Muni. And Vishwamitra Muni told him, don't worry. Ram never said he's not going to marry. He only said he's not going to marry unless Dasharath permits. Get Dasharath's permission and he'll marry. So then Janak Maharaj felt a little hope, So many times in life, we experience paradoxes. Paradoxes are opposites, and we are very confused what to do. This also seems right, this also seems right. Sometimes this also seems wrong, this also seems. So we get very confused what is the right thing to do, what is the right decision to take. Those are the times our mind stops functioning properly. It just goes into a paralysis mode, That's the time we need help from someone. Like Vishwamitra Muni, who's neutral, knowledgeable, unbiased, and kind enough to help. And when you go to them, you get absolute clarity suddenly, So then Janak Maharaj got ready to send his messengers to inform Dasharath Maharaj. In the meanwhile, Sita was going through a lot. Now imagine, so many people have tried and none of them have succeeded. And then one person who tried, he's saying, I don't want to marry. So imagine Sita's plight, right? But Sita, when she heard Ram speak those words, she got even more convinced, I want to marry him only. Sita was absolutely convinced because Sita saw three things. Any woman who wants to give her life to a man, she looks for three things in a man. And Sita saw all those three things in Lord Ram. And interestingly, the first thing that Sita saw in Ram, so the first thing that a woman looks for in a man is the ability to protect. So when Sita saw Ram's broad shoulders the previous day, she knew this person can take care of me. And of course, he had lifted the bow. What else is a proof that he can take care? But that is not the most important thing for Mother Sita. The second thing was more important than this. What is the second thing that a woman looks for in a man? The man's world and a woman's world are two different worlds. And when a man goes through a problem, when a man goes through some difficulty, the way a man deals with the problem is by thinking. So typically when a husband is in some anxiety in office, comes back and starts thinking how to solve the problem, The wife, she sees the husband is not talking only. She goes in and asks him, what happened? So he doesn't say anything. So she understands that some big problem is there. So she asks him, can I help you? Please tell me what is the problem? So this fellow's ego gets hurt that she is trying to help him solve a problem that he can't solve himself, So he becomes even more quiet. For a woman, the way she solves problem is by talking. So if she goes through a problem, she'll talk to 10 people. And then somehow she finds a solution, The way a man solves a problem is by thinking. For a woman, what is most important is expression. So one of the things that a woman looks for in a man is the ability to express the heart clearly. And one of the biggest problems in men is the inability to express what is going on in the heart. That creates most of the conflicts, isn't it? Here, when Sita saw Ram speak, she said, I want to marry him only. This person can express himself properly. What he's feeling in his heart, he can express. If any other man was in Ram's place, they would have got married, carrying that feeling that, I want to say something, but there would be that there's a, the tone apart between two things. And they would have kept quiet and got married also. And then all life they'll be repenting. I didn't do this, But Sita saw in Ram the ability to express clearly. He said, I want to marry him only. And the third thing that a woman looks for in a man, first is the ability to protect, the second is the ability to express, and third is the ability to control himself, control his senses. That is something very important for a woman. So imagine, wars have been fought over Sita's beauty. People are dying to marry her. And here is Ram who is qualified to marry her. He's saying, I won't marry. So what else? It shows that Ram has such a strong self-control, right? So Sita was convinced, I want to marry him only. Marriages are not about two people coming together. The word Kalyana that I started with, means auspiciousness, right? Whenever two rivers come together, at least in India, this is how it is. Whenever there's a confluence of two rivers, that confluence is considered to be an auspicious place. It is considered to be a holy place. Like Prayag is a confluence of Ganga, Yamuna, Saraswati. It's a holy place. So wherever there is confluence of two rivers, it is considered holy. So when marriages happen, marriage is not about two people coming together. It's not about two individuals coming together. It's about two legacies coming together. It's two families coming together. It's like many, many drops of water come together to form a river, right? So in one river, there are hundreds of drops of water, and another river, there are hundreds of drops of water. They come together and form a massive river, a confluence. Similarly, marriage is of coming together of two legacies. So Ram felt, it is not about what I want. It is not about what I like. It is about two legacies coming together. I can't start this auspicious connection with a difference. I can't start this auspicious connection by creating a painful situation for my father. So Ram said, I can't marry unless Dasharath permits. So Janak Maharaj sent messengers to Dasharath Maharaj, and very smartly Vishwamitra Muni trained the messengers. He told them, don't tell Dasharath right in the beginning about the marriage of Sita and Ram. First, tell about what Ram has done all this while. So then the messengers went and glorified Ram like anything in front of Dasharath. Ram has killed Tataka, Ram has done this, Ram has done that. And then finally they said, by the way, Ram went to attend Janak Maharaj's putra, the Dhanur Yagya. And in that, he lifted the bow and the bow broke, Now, it's very interesting. He said, by the way, he went, it's not by the way, he went actually out of the way. But Vishwamitra didn't want it to show as if that he has done all the setting, So if Dasharath comes to know that Vishwamitra has already done all this setting from the beginning only, Dasharath will not agree for the marriage. So Vishwamitra very diplomatically he said, by the way, they went there. And while they were there, they saw that bow and Ram lifted the bow and the bow broke. And Dasharath Maharaj was so happy. He said, yes, I also heard the breaking of the bow. Imagine, in Mithila the bow broke, in Ayodhya he heard the sound. He said, I'm so happy to know it's my son who has done it. And then the messenger said that Janak has the condition that anyone who breaks the bow, who lifts the bow, can marry Sita. So then Dasharath Maharaj looked at Vashishta, his guru, and Vashishta immediately said yes. And then Dasharath Maharaj also said yes. And he declared to the whole of Ayodhya, saying that there is going to be the marriage of Sita and Ram. And he said, every one of you from Ayodhya can come for the marriage of Sita and Ram. And then the very next day, the procession began from Ayodhya all the way to Mithila. And he explained, Dasharath Maharaj was right in the front of the procession. And almost everyone from Ayodhya left to attend the marriage of Sita and Ram. And as the procession was going on, it is explained, the procession took a few days. And finally, Dasharath, who was right in the beginning of the procession, reached Mithila. And when Dasharath reached Mithila, the procession was so long, the last person was still in Ayodhya. That many people went from Ayodhya to Mithila. And then Janak Maharaj and Dasharath Maharaj met after a long, long time. And the two kings, they embraced each other. The best of friends, now they're going to become relatives. They embraced each other. Dasharath is a king of the solar dynasty. And Janak is a king of the lunar dynasty. It's almost like the sun and the moon are coming together. It never happens, isn't it? The sun and the moon are always at different times. But here, the sun and the moon came together. So Janak Maharaj told Dasharath, your son has fulfilled the condition for my condition for the marriage. Now you tell me, what is your condition for the marriage? Dasharatha Maharaj said, I have no conditions. He said, I am like a beggar. When a beggar begs, he doesn't choose. Of course, in America, it's a different story, They, they get upset with you depending on what you give. Same thing in India. But the point is, when a beggar begs, ideally, he doesn't choose what you receive. Whatever you receive, beggar is grateful, isn't it? So Dasharath Maharaj said, he said, I'm a beggar. You are giving your daughter to us. I am grateful. I don't want anything else. I don't have any expectations from you as such. So Janak and Dasharath Maharaj, they were so happy. And then the marriage was declared. And before the marriage, there is a discussion about the dynasties of both the kings. So Dasharath Maharaj's guru Vashishta began to talk about the dynasty of the Dasharath Maharaj. I mean, such a fascinating dynasty. Kings like Kakutsa, then Shibi, Brantidev, and so many exalted personalities like Raghu, all of them in the dynasty of Dasharath Maharaj. So, the dynasties are discussed because who we are is coming from our ancestors. So right now we might think that we are so good and all that, but our goodness is not just our goodness. It's a connection of so many great personalities who have contributed to finally who we are. So that is why dynasties are always discussed in the scriptures. And then uh, Janak Maharaj began to talk about his dynasty. Satananda Rishi began to introduce the dynasty of Janak Maharaj. And in Janak Maharaj dynasty, there are so many great kings. And one of the founders of Janak Maharaj dynasty is a king named Nimi. And his story was discussed. It is said there was a great king named Nimi who wanted to once conduct a yagya, a very auspicious yagya. And he called Vashishta to conduct the yagya. So now you might say Vashishta is there, Ram's guru right now. These sages lasted for like centuries, thousands of years they were there, one of the Saptarishis basically. So Vashishta was invited by Nimi Maharaj to perform the yagya. So Vashishta said yes, he'll come. But at the same time, he got another invite from the heavens to do a yagya. So he went there. So he didn't come for this yagya. And Nimi conducted this yagya with somebody else. And then Vashishta comes and he gets very angry. He said, why didn't you wait for me? So Nimi said, hey, you went to heaven because you're getting more money over there. Why should I wait for you? And Vashishta got angry. He cursed Nimi that you will die. And Nimi, he said, I am not at fault. You are at fault. So I also curse you. You will also die. Both of them died. Guru and disciple both died. And then all the Brahmanas, they realized that it's a chaos now. The Brahmanas spoke to the souls of Dasharath, of Nimi and Vashishta. And they said, we can make both of you all alive. Just say you want to be alive. If you say you want to be alive, we'll make you alive. Vashishta said yes. And the Brahmanas made him alive. And Nimi said no. He said, I'm done with this body. He said, I'm not interested in the body. I want to go ahead in my journey of spiritual life. And because Nimi was not interested in the body, he got another name. His name became Vaideha. Deha means body. And Vaideha means the one who is beyond the body. So then they churned the body of Nimi Maharaj. And from the churning of the body of Nimi Maharaj came out a personality who was known as, the churning is known as Manthan. And because this person was born from the churning of the body of Nimi, he came to be known as Mithi Janak. Mithi means the one who is the churning process, and Janak means the one who is born from the churning process. So that is how the dynasty got the name Janak. So from that point onwards, every king that came in the dynasty got the name Janak, basically. But they had one name before that and then Janak. So Sita's father was known as Shira Dwaja Janak. And so then, this whole dynasties were discussed, and it is explained that everyone in Mithila is known as either Vaideha or Vaidehi. And that is how Sita got another name, Vaidehi. So why this story is being told over here? Because Janak wants to emphasize that Ram is not the body, right? He is a spirit soul, he is pure, And Sita is the qualified person to marry Ram because she is also not interested in the body. She is also beyond the body, right? So that's a perfect combination. Combination of God and a living entity who is not interested in the body. That's a spiritual connection. And then, after all these dynasties were discussed, Vashishta and Vishwamitra Muni went aside. And they were talking together very animatedly. And all these people who are looking at Vishishta and Vishwamitra Muni having this discussion very animatedly were amazed. You know why? Because Vashishta and Vishwamitra Muni were the original Tom and Jerry. If you have seen Tom and Jerry, how Jerry wants to kill Tom and Tom wants to kill Jerry, this is original started from Vashishta and Vishwamitra Muni. The two sages were so obsessed about destroying each other, and they did everything possible to kill each other. And those two sages are now talking to each other so lovingly. It is amazing. How is it possible? The two enemies are talking to each other so nicely. It is only possible if there is God in the center. The connection between Vashishta and Dasharath, Vashishta and Vishwamitra is Ram. Just like two bricks which are individually separate. The connection between them is a cement. So when that cement comes in between, the two bricks unite. So Vashishta and Vishwamitra Muni are having a discussion. After the discussion, they came to Janak Maharaj and Dasharath, and they told them, we have a proposal for you. Our proposal is, while Ram and Sita are getting married, why not simultaneously get the three other brothers married to the three other sisters of Sita? So then the proposal was Bharat marries Mandavi, who is a cousin sister of Sita. She's a daughter of Kushadwaja Janak, the brother of Shiradwaja Janak. And Lakshman marries Urmila, who is Sita's own sister. And Shatrughna marries Shrutakirti, who is also the daughter of Kushadwaja Janak. So the moment this proposal was made by Vashishta and Vishwamitra Muni, Janak and Dasharath Maharaj, they looked at each other and they immediately agreed. They were happy. And the four princes looked at the four princesses and they were all happy. And then Dasharath, Janak and Kushadwaja Janak embraced each other. And now, instead of one marriage, it's going to be four marriages simultaneously. And when the citizens of Ayodhya and Mithila got to know about this, they were so happy. The joy became 4 times more now. And the next day, the marriage ceremony was going to take place. And the marriage of Sita and Ram was such a beautiful occasion that all the citizens of Ayodhya and Mithila, they were mesmerized by the beauty of Sita and Ram. It is explained that the citizens of Ayodhya and Mithila, they were making their eyes into cups and they were drinking the nectar of the beauty of Sita and Ram. So those who were seeing the beauty of Sita, the Mithilavasis, they were thinking that actually Sita needs so many eyes to enjoy the beauty of Lord Ram. And the Ayodhya-vasis are thinking, actually, Ram needs so many eyes to enjoy the beauty of Mother Sita. And then they were thinking, so the Mithilavasis and the Ayodhya-vasis, they were looking at Ram first, then they were looking at Sita, and they wanted to look at both of them simultaneously. So the eyes were getting confused, they closed their eyes, So one eye was looking at Ram, one eye was looking at Sita, and they were getting so confused that they decided to just close their eyes. And when they closed their eyes, in their heart, they could see Sita and Ram together. And then the Mithilavasis is saying that actually Ram's beauty increases every moment. So Sita needs 1,000 eyes added every moment to see the beauty of Ram more and more. The Ayodhya-vasis was thinking the beauty of Sita actually increases 1,000 times every moment. So like this, there was a transcendental competition between the Mithilavasis and Ayodhya-vasis, and they were so happy. And then finally, the time came for the marriage of Sita and Ram. Janak Maharaj comes and he keeps the hand of Sita over the hand of Ram, indicating that now Ram is under the care of Sita. It's not that Sita is under the care of Ram, but actually it is Ram who is under the care of Sita. And then Janak Maharaj told Ram, this is your Sita. So Acharya has explained why Janak Maharaj is telling Ram, this is your Sita, because Ram is so mesmerized by the beauty of Sita, he can see Sita everywhere. So Janak Maharaj doesn't want him to garland the wrong person, seeing this, because he sees Sita everywhere. So he says, this is your Sita. And then he calls Sita as Ayonija. That means the one who doesn't have a human birth. Sita was not born from the earth. She was born, not born from a human birth, but she was born from the earth. She is Bhumi Sutta. So Janak, when he was plowing the field, in the tip of that plow, there was this golden box that was found. Sita means, the word Sita means tip of the plow. And Sita means the one who is born at the tip of the plow. So he says she's Ayonija. That means she doesn't have a human birth. So she's a perfect match for you. And then Janak Maharaj tells Ram, Sita is Dharmacharini Tava, which means that she is a perfect follower of the path of Dharma. She says, as long as you are following the path of Dharma, she will follow you. But the moment you deviate from the path of Dharma, she will correct you. So like that Janak Maharaj tells Ram. And then Janak Maharaj also says, Sita will be like your shadow. The Acharyas explain, what is the meaning of Sita will be like a shadow? If you look at shadows, how they function, when the sun is in front of you, the shadow is behind you. But when the sun is behind you, the shadow is in front of you. Right? And the shadow is always linked to your feet. So he's saying Sita will be your shadow, means she will always be connected to your lotus feet. But when the sun of prosperity is in front of you, Sita will be behind you. She will follow you. But when you are going through a loss, when you're going through a crisis, when you're going through a problem, like when the sun is at the back of you, Sita will be ahead of you, which means she will make your path. She will carve your path. And that's what we find in the whole story of the Ramayana. Sita goes to Lanka first, carves the path for Ram to come, and then Ram follows. So this is what the whole idea of Janak Maharaj telling all this. And then finally, after handing over the hands of Sita over the hand of Ram, the marriage begins. Ram puts the garland on Sita's neck. And Sita is about to put her garland over Ram's neck. But Ram is so tall. And Sita is much shorter, She's not able to reach him. And Ram doesn't know how to bend. He's never bent in front of anybody. He's standing like that only. So Sita is struggling and Ram is not bending only. So Lakshman sees this strange thing. So Lakshman comes running and touches the feet of Ram. And as soon as Lakshman touches the feet of Ram, Ram bends down to pick up Lakshman. And then Sita puts the garland. And that is how Sita and Ram get married. So the marriage of Sita and Ram is such a beautiful story. And it is such an insightful story also. And most importantly, it is such an auspicious story. It is explained that anyone who hears the marriage of Sita and Ram attains great auspiciousness and prosperity in their lives. So with this little prayer, I really pray to Sita and Ram that they bless all of you all with great joy and prosperity and auspiciousness. Hare Krishna. Sita Ram Kalyanam ki, Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai. Hare Krishna. Any questions, comments? Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for the wonderful narration on the Sita Ram Kalyanam. I had a question when you were talking about like how Lord Ram needed to ask permission of Dashrath Maharaj, and you were talking about marriage is about two families coming together. Yeah. Is that always the case even now? Especially now, because when kids take the devotional practice, which parents are not completely 100% aligned with, and now they want to get their kids married. And as a devotee, his preference would be to get married to someone devotee, but the parents are still not there. So now, should he go on his conviction or listen to the parents?
Yeah. See, whether we are devotees or no, parents play the most important role in our lives, and that's an eternal truth that can't change and shouldn't change. If you look at Srila Prabhupada also, the way Prabhupada inspired his disciples to respect their parents, to take shelter of their parents, actually, it's really important and amazing. So yes, it is a sensitive matter, but it has to be dealt also sensitively. Ideally, it will be best if first, before getting into this marriage box, if devotees help their parents understand what they're going through. See, parents love you unconditionally, right? There's no doubt about that. They usually, parents don't have a problem in anybody having a devotional practice unless and until they have fear that the devotional practice will take them away from them. See, anytime anyone opposes, it simply means there is some insecurity. There is some concern. And there are some needs. it is important that we learn to address the needs, interests, and concerns and insecurities of them first. Once their insecurities are addressed, usually what happens, what I have seen is that many devotees, they tend to become very harsh with the way they deal with their parents and relatives. And they tend to assume a very superior attitude when they become devotees. They think that, we are pure devotees and these people are fallen souls. So when you assume that superior attitude, that makes them highly insecure. And it really disturbs them. Naturally, they justify it to that. So I feel that when devotees become sensitive to their parents and sensitive to helping them understand it in the correct perspective, I don't see why any parent will oppose. I don't see why. It simply means somewhere we have been insensitive. So that's what Ram did. First, he took care in a sensitive way of the needs, interests, and concerns of his father. And then marriage, lifelong you're married. But what is the point in starting a marriage with unhappiness, especially of parents? I don't know how that marriage can be, a successful marriage and a happy marriage, right? So when a marriage starts with blessings from all sides, especially from important people in your life, that's when auspiciousness comes into your life. Right?
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. Anything else? Any other questions?
Very good. Thank you. It was very interesting to know all those information. So one question: why Parashuram was so mad that Bhagwan Ram broke the?
Yeah.
No.
So after the story of the marriage of Sita and Ram comes the story of Parashuram coming in. When the marriage party is going to Ayodhya, on the way Parashuram comes in. The reason Parashuram was mad about the whole thing was because two reasons. One is Parashuram is also incarnation of Vishnu, right? And here is a transition from one incarnation to another incarnation. This is one of the only instances in history where two incarnations are present simultaneously in one place. So technically, that story of Parshuram and Ram having a fight with each other or a difference with each other is technically the handing over of one avatar to another avatar. You know? So it happens in a very dramatic way, basically. So the lesson that Parshuram is trying to teach us is that now this incarnation has become irrelevant and now this incarnation is relevant. So to see, Kshatriyas have a very unique way of dealing with each other. So, like normal human beings, when they deal with each other, it is out of kindness and love and affection and nice words and all. But Kshatriyas, when they actually love each other, they fight. I don't know if you observed that. There's some people who are like that, When they fight, they feel happy. So that's Kshatriya nature, basically. So the way Parashuram expresses love, is by a fight only. So that's the way I would understand it. Yeah. Yes, bro.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. You literally took us to Ayodhya, Mithila, and on the way, everything. You are literally seeing we are there. Thank you so much for enlightening us of this auspicious pastime. The question I have is, Janaka Maharaj is one of the Mahajans, right? So who is that? Now you told everybody is Janak Maharaj there.
Yeah.
So which one is the Mahajan? Is it Sita's father or
Yeah.
somebody else?
So technically, right now the understanding of Mahajan is Sita's father only. But it is said that in different yugas, there are different Janaks who are Mahajans. So in this particular yuga, Sita's father is the Mahajan, basically. But there could also be other yugas where some other Mahajans exist. Like that. So the word Janak is like a synonymous to that Mahajan understanding. So one of them is a Mahajan, basically.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Anything else?
Thank you, Prabhu, for a nice compilation of this episode in Ramayana. I just wanted to understand the spiritual significance of two entities, Rama and Sita, coming together and going through this this they parted ways. What is like this? Why they have? What is like the teaching for us, like as a human
Okay.
being?
So you're talking about the kidnapping part, or you're talking about the last part, the banishment of
So
Sita
they,
part?
they came together and then they have to go through this 14 years
Okay,
of
okay, okay, okay. Let me explain the whole understanding in a simple way for you. There are two parallel understandings of this particular episode. One is Sita represents a living entity, like all of us, you know. So the living entity is originally with Ram. All of us were originally with God. Like Sita was with Ram originally. But when the golden deer comes into Sita's life, she gets attracted to the golden deer. She says, I want the golden deer. So when we get attracted to some temptations of this world and we tell Ram that we want this, then Ram walks away from our life. So when Ram walks away from our life, then Ravan walks into our life. So when Ravan walks into our life, he appears to be like a sadhu. He appears to be doing something good for us. So we take shelter of Ravan, we have faith in Ravan, thinking that this person is doing something good for us. And as soon as we take shelter of Ravan, suddenly he shows his 100-headed form or 10-headed form. The 10 heads represents all the demonic propensities basically, and he takes us away from Ram and puts us in Lanka. Lanka represents this material world where we are, very far away from God. And when we reach the material world, we are surrounded by 700. Sita was surrounded by 700 one-eyed and one-eared monsters. Those one-eyed and one-eared monsters represent people who are around us, who are constantly trying to tell us that Ram doesn't exist, only Ravan exists. So you'll find people all around us in your offices, in your homes, everywhere. People are around us trying to convince us that Ram doesn't exist, only Ravan exists. Just be happy in life, get married to Ravan. So Sita was in that phase, but in spite of being in such a phase, she was constantly remembering Lord Ram. So similarly, all of us, we may be in the material world, we maybe seem to be alone, very far away from Ram, but when we understand that we have made a mistake of wanting to be separate from Ram, we start repenting and we start chanting the holy names of Ram. And when we intensely take shelter of the holy names of Ram, that time the Guru comes into our life, Hanumanji, and he brings a mantra, the ring. And that mantra represents the process of initiation. And the Guru tells us, don't worry, Ram will come. And then we continue having hope that 1 month duration is probably for us a one lifetime duration. And one day, Ram will surely come and take us back. So then Sita gets reunited with Ram and she goes back to Ayodhya. So that's the story in essence. Yes, bro.
Thank you, Prabhu. This was such a wonderful class, very blissful, mesmerizing. So, Prabhu, in your yesterday's class as well, you were saying when we see when the living entity sees the material energy, you were saying
Yeah.
in
You're
connection with
excited.
Hanumanji seeing Mandodari, it leads to some agitating excitement about enjoyment. And yeah, that's not really satisfying to the heart. But when we see the spiritual energy, Sita Devi or Radharani, it gives real happiness and satisfaction to the heart. How do we make sure we don't see the internal energy of the Lord, Radharani or Sita Devi, with an enjoying spirit? How should we make sure that hearing descriptions about Sita Devi's beauty or Radharani's beauty, they evoke devotion and the desire to serve rather than the desire to find some exploitative enjoyment in this world?
So the tendency of the living entity is to exploit, to enjoy. That is a natural tendency of a living entity. But the purification of the tendency comes when we see the energy of the Lord. Anything is meant for Lord's enjoyment only. Of course, it's not easy to it's easy to say it, but it's very difficult to experience it. The only way that we can experience it is when we start looking at the energy of the Lord as a mother. So generally, for any person, mother carries the highest level of respect, isn't it? And for any living entity, the mother's position is considered to be the the highest position that we can offer anyone, you know. And the amount of love and affection and the respect that we have for the mother is very, very high. And that is why in our words, in our dealings, in our thoughts, the more we look at Radha, Sita as a divine mother, to that extent, there is, you know, there is pure thoughts and auspiciousness involved in it. So now, when I'm saying look at Sita, Radha, what does it mean? Look, obviously, we don't have any access to them. You know, we have access to their energies or their effect, basically. Like for example, any thing in this world. Now, we have two ways of looking at anything in this world. One is to look from the point of view of what that thing can give me pleasure. The other way to look at it is that how can I serve that? So when we look at a mother, we're looking from the point of view of how can I serve her, isn't it? But when we look at potentially any other woman, we might not look in that mood. How can I serve her? That is why Prabhupada introduced this whole concept of calling women as mother, you know. Because the moment you think of someone as your mother, you immediately think from the point of view, how can I serve her? Isn't it? So this is the mood that we need to take. Like say, for example, any material object in this world, for a phone or a car or any object that people are attracted towards, you know, the only thing we can think of is how can I use this object for my enjoyment. But rather, when we start thinking, how can I serve this object or use this object for the service of the Lord, that's where the transformation happens. So the word mother, it is akin, or rather it's directly connected with seva. So that's what Krishna, Rupa Goswami calls it as yukta vairagya, basically. So that's my understanding.
Thank you, Prabhu. So as long as we are able to see Radharani, Sita Devi as a mother, we can look at the beautiful deity
Yeah,
form,
of
hear
course.
about descriptions of their
Absolutely.
beauty.
I
right?
mean, see, if your mother is beautifully dressed, you're happy, right? Isn't it? I mean, it makes you very happy that your mother is nicely dressed, your mother is so beautiful. It actually, if you go back and think about your childhood days, you know, how happy a child becomes when he or she sees a mother nicely dressed, isn't it? I was just recently, you know, hearing one little boy tell his mother, I was amazed. Small boy, maybe 6 or 7 years old boy. He's telling his mother, you look like a goddess today. Imagine the mother was like stunned, you know. She was stunned. That his little boy is praising her like that. I was thinking, what a sweet guy he is, you know. He's just because most of the time we take people for granted, right, around us. We don't appreciate them. We don't show any kind of love for them, you know. So I was thinking, this boy is so special. So that is the mood. You know, when a child looks at the mother beautifully dressed, the child becomes happy looking at her. And this so innocent. Basically.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hari Hari. Yes, Fatherji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you for the beautiful class. You know, from my reading of Ramayana like long time back, what I recollect and, you know, just trying to bring in parallel. So for any marriage, trust is a very big factor, right? In Ramayana, we see that after Lanka episode, when Sita is back to Ayodhya, then Rama overhears Adhobi talking about her coming back from Lanka and Ram had to abandon her. So what is the message that we should get from there? You know, because, you know,
Every single lecture I've given on Ramayana, somebody asked me this question. There is a podcast that I do, that I've done, where I have spoken about 13 different ways of looking at this episode. I would highly recommend you to get that podcast. So I'll get that sent to you. You hear it peacefully. It's a half an hour podcast. Every single way of looking at this episode is there in it. Okay. So I'll make sure that Prabhuji gets it. You can share it with everybody. Okay.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, but still give a gist of it. Yeah.
People are lazy. So essence is this: anything that happens in any event that happens always has many reasons. So when the Lord and His divine consort go through some experience in their lives, they are not fools that they will do something so stupid, isn't it? That what we see in today's world. And this is the divine Lord. This is the supreme Lord, and He is Maryada Purushottam. You obviously expect that there is some logical reason behind what happened. And there are many logical reasons, basically. One of it is, I'll give you a simple story that will help you understand this. There is um, there was a particular demon who was harassing the gods and creating a lot of trouble on the earth. And one of the boons that this demon had was he could not be killed as long as Narayan and Lakshmi were together. That was the boon he had. Just like Hiranyakashipu had the boon, he can't be killed here and there and all that. The boon he asked for was as long as Narayan and Lakshmi are together, he can't be killed. So Narayan and Lakshmi can never be separated, right? They would never separate. So that was the time when Ram Leela was happening. So Ram and Sita went through a separation so that this particular demon could be killed by Indra. So Indra took a couple of days to kill this demon. So in the heaven, the couple of days became many years on earth. So this is one angle to it. Like this, there are, as I said, there are 13 different angles of looking at the same story. And each one of them have their own perspectives and things like that, And also, a more important thing that Ramayana talks about is leadership. So Ramayana is a book of leadership, right? It talks about the art of leading. So in the Ramayana, we find that the idea of leadership is connected with responsibility. So leadership means responsibility. Responsibility means sacrifice. And sacrifice means crying. Wherever a leader is crying, the followers are happy. And wherever you find the followers are crying, the leaders are happy. So in today's world, you will find all followers are crying, leaders are happy, But in Ram Leela, it's the opposite. The leaders make sacrifices. They make great sacrifices on a personal level, just so that people are happy. So that's the essence of this. Yeah. You already sent the podcast? Okay. To whom did you send? Okay. So please forward it to everyone. Yeah. The podcast, right? Yeah. It's not a video, it's audio. Yeah. Oh, that's only 3 or 4 reasons. I'll send you a podcast. So many people ask me this question. I have a podcast kept, and anybody asks, I'll send them. Because every time I speak Ramayana, somebody other asks this question. And you all should widely circulate this. Send it to as many people as possible. Whoever wants to hear should hear. After you hear this, you will not have this doubt for sure. Yes.
Yeah, Prabhu, thank you for creating that podcast. This is one reason it appears many people don't appreciate Lord Ram. They take it in a feminist sense and this is injustice toward women.
In India, at this point, there are 7 different authors who have written books on Sita's banishment episode, completely criticizing Ram. 7 different books today. So I'm going to write a book which refutes all of the 7. Hopefully next year. So so it will be a sequel to the Ramayana series. That will be the Uttarakhand of Ramayana, basically. So so Valmiki wrote the 6 volumes first till Yuddhakand. Then he took a break. And after many years, he wrote the Uttarakhand. So I'm following that parampara. 6 volumes are over. I've taken a break for some time. I'll do other things. Then I'll write that. Jai.
So, Prabhuji, first of all, both Simi and I would like to thank you profusely for gracing our house with your presence and your beautiful narration of Ram Sita Kalyanam. Many thanks, Prabhu, for your kindness. And my thanks will not be complete if I don't mention, first of all, Achyutya Kumar Prabhu for suggesting to Srivas Chandra Prabhu to give us this opportunity to have the katha. So my big thanks to them, and also to all the Vaishnavas here who on a weekday morning came and attended and listened to this with utmost attention and concentration. And also to all the folks on who are online. Also want to convey a big thank you to dear Praveen Prabhu, without whom none of these audio and Zoom arrangements would have been possible. So please accept my thanks. I think Achyutya Kumar Prabhu and Srivas Chandra Prabhu put it very well. I can't really add much more to it. It was, and Sushil ji, my very close, like a family, he also put it very nicely, that it was mesmerizing, very engaging, with so many details that combined with such wonderful insights that even after having read those passages several times, these insights are not obvious to a layman like me. So really appreciate all the wonderful insights. And then you, on top of it, combined it with how it applies to practical life in our day-to-day life. And many lessons that you brought up. I do have one small question related to that. So you mentioned that not being, so if one is so shaken by adversity in life, which I'll say I'm the very first one, it is a clear proof that I am not even closely absorbed in the Lord. That's what you said. If you are totally absorbed in Lord Ram, then, or Bhagwan, Krishna, and so on, then you will not be perturbed. So there is no sense of equanimity and so on because of that. So then in situations like this, I start feeling that, on the one hand, Bhagwan has causeless mercy. And today we also heard from you that Sita Devi has so much mercy that Bhagwan never even killed a demon in front of her. So how should one reconcile this? That, Bhagwan is so causeless mercy, and I get an impression that Bhagwan is not showing mercy. So please give us some tips for that. Give me some tips.
So, God being all merciful and causelessly merciful, that's His greatness. But we expecting causeless mercy is actually not right. We should feel that I don't deserve it. And I should qualify myself for it. So, He being great, that's His greatness, But if because He is so great, I will not do anything, and I'll expect causeless mercy, that's not fair. That's pretty selfish on our part, right? So, whatever you desire, you should deserve it first. So, the preparation that we do in our spiritual journeys is to make us make us deserve that mercy. So the mercy is there, very much there. But whether I deserve it or not, that is questionable, basically. So our spiritual practices and our intentions help us become qualified to deserve that mercy.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Thank you. And please forgive any offenses that we may have done in serving all of you, knowingly or unknowingly, especially the apology for the late start. And thank you.
Thank you very much. Very, very happy and grateful to be here. This is one of my last sessions here in Silicon Valley. It's been a pleasure to be with all of you all. And hopefully, I'll come back soon.
Please come again. And if you have time for like 2 minutes, Biswa Prabhu can sing the Narsimha prayer. Can we do that?
Yeah, but then it's there at the back. No, please sing. Please. No, please sing. No, everybody can offer lamps randomly. We'll just sing Arti and yeah, people can offer lamps. Yeah. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Praladadayine. Hiranyakashe purvaksha. Shilatankanakalaye. Ito Narsinga Parato Narsinga. Yato yato yami tato Narsinga. Bahir Narsinga Hridaye Narsinga. Narasimhamadem Sharanam Prapade. Tava Kara Kamala Varenakam Adbhuta Shringam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Bringam Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Parakamala Senaka Adbhuta Shringa Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubrenga Keshavadeta Adhari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Narsingadev 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 Jai Ho Narsingadev Jai Ho Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Jai Ho Prahlad Maharaj Jai Jai Prabhupada 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 Jai Jai Ho Prabhupada विघ्नविनाशक नरसिंहदेव भगवान की भक्तराज प्रहलाद महाराज की जय
Hare